Save the Semantics, episode 165. It is January 3rd, 2022. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I give you all the updates on health and safety protocols, 10-day contracts, two-way contracts, fucking injuries, reviving careers, and back-to-back buzzer-beating game winners. Holy shit. It's been a pretty good weekend for basketball, at least. We'll get into all of that. We'll get into all the basketball shit, but right now it is raining steadily, but it's not too heavy. It's nice and steady. I would say the last maybe a week and a half ago, it was pretty heavy, and it was just nonstop. There wasn't really shit to do, honestly. It was just in my house. Honestly, it's been pretty much the same since then. Been pretty occupied in the comfort of my home. And it's been good. It's been a chill, very nice, very quiet, very relaxing New Year's break. Enjoying some time off, and just not really planning for anything extensive. I talk about how I want to do a lot of things, but I think sometimes it's just best if I just kind of stick to where I'm at right now and not do anything super extensive. I mean, that isn't to say that I shouldn't be ambitious and try new things and everything, but also, I don't know. It's just right now things are so just up in the air, like obviously in terms of COVID and all that other shit, but just yeah, it's just kind of, it's hard for me to like really think of like pursuing something in particular, right? Like I've talked like constantly about like trying to find like new hobbies and everything like that, but it's just like in regards to like my my work schedule and everything like that, I just don't know if I can really commit to anything. And it's just hard to, I think that just comes with taking on adult responsibilities, is that it's just hard to fill in the time, or hard to find the time and the motivation to really try something and stick to it, or maybe that's just kind of in regards to where I'm at right now, so again, and I think I may have said this last week as well, or last episode, that I try not to be too hard on myself when I can't find, exactly what I want to at this period of time, because it's just very, it's just not, I'm not in the same position as I was, like in college, where I had, a little bit more time on my hands in between, class and work and stuff. I had a lot, I had like a pretty good amount of leisure time in between things, so I was able to put that into things like, radio, and then from that, this, podcasting thing kind of sprung up, even if it hasn't really been the most, like, I don't know, quote unquote successful. Like, this is really just me doing my own thing, but still, like, that I wouldn't have started to do this if I hadn't gone into radio first. So that's just, that's again a roundabout way of me saying times have changed. So I'm not in the same position as I once was to be able to kind of like try out new opportunities. I think obviously time is the biggest factor, but I'm also just kind of like, I also don't want to like, I don't know. It's hard. It's just hard to really set myself out, and also just with, again, you know, the new variant and COVID is still, it's still around and stuff. So I'm a little hesitant. I'm still anxious to really go out and stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want to get sick, right? So I just I guess I have to kind of work around that for the time being. But again, this is more reassuring myself that I don't have to be hard on myself when I can't necessarily, like, even if if I somewhat do have a little bit of time, like right now, I shouldn't have to feel like bad, or I shouldn't have to like beat myself up when I can't, when I don't find something that I can really latch onto. You know what I mean? Like it's always kind of like, not always, but sometimes I feel like there's sort of a there's like a pressure for me to find something to, like, it's just like, oh, you only have so much time in your life to do things, and it's like, yeah, I understand that's true, but also like, you have to work with your circumstances and your own personal, like, position, and how you're feeling and everything like that, and health, right? So I think just with all those factors taken into consideration, ultimately it's like, yeah, you're fine if you don't find exactly something to kind of supplement your work life, you know what I mean? So yeah. Yeah, that's sort of where I've my mind's been kind of dwelling. But I don't know. I've been good. Like, I haven't really been, obviously, ups and downs as always, but I'd say for the most part I've been good. I haven't really felt like I've falling into kind of like a mini pit of despair, like I sometimes do. It hasn't really occurred to me as of late. I've been sort of keeping myself, I don't want to say keeping myself afloat, but I've been just, kind of steadily going along, and relaxing to the best of my abilities, and yeah, enjoying my time, that I'm not working. So yeah, I've been, what have I been doing though during this past week or so? I've been really enjoying SMT5. I think I'm nearing, if I'm not mistaken, just based on what my current level is and the area that I'm at, I'm nearing the end of the game. That's kind of what it feels like a little bit. But I don't know, right? With like JRPGs, there's always like, yeah, that was the last boss, kind of, but there's another one, you know what I mean? So, I'm anticipating a lot more gameplay just coming up pretty soon. It's been fun, man. I've really enjoyed it so far. I'm thinking Apocalypse, my first playthrough took me quite a bit. I don't remember how long exactly, but I think maybe it was like in the 50 hour range. I don't exactly remember what level I was when I fought the last boss. I think I was in like the 80s, I'm pretty sure, because I think the last boss was in that range. I played through it twice. I didn't get through technically I played through it once. I did a second playthrough and I almost made it through the end, but I kind of hit just like a bit of a bump. And man, that last dungeon's a fucking shit show. I've talked about it before, but SMT4 Apocalypse's final dungeon, oh my god, one of the worst dungeons that I've ever experienced. It is way too long. Like, when you first get into it, it's like a cool it has a cool design. You're like, oh, this is pretty interesting. It's kind of trippy and everything. But then you get like 4 or 5 levels or layers to it of kind of like pretty much the same thing over and over again. And it's just it hurts your eyes like just looking at it, and it's just a pain in the ass to get through. It's a labyrinth, so you have to kind of try to find these doors to get to certain parts of the to get to the next floor or whatever. Oh my god, what a nightmare. But still a great game though, still one of my favorites. Just that's just probably my biggest criticism of that game. But getting back to 5, again, I've talked about this before. Don't care for the story or the characters, but the gameplay is great, and I've really enjoyed the world. I've really enjoyed the exploration. There's just a ton to just discover. I really like all like the collectible items, all the items that you can find to sell, and the quests are fine. I feel there's not really. I feel like there's like a really good balance for the game in terms of developing, and I haven't really experienced any difficulty spikes or anything like that. Of course, I've ran into bosses that were difficult, but I didn't really need to grind all that much in order to beat them. I had to actually just change the strategy, which is great. I love that. I don't really, I'm not a fan of games that I understand it. It's if it's part of it's if it's part of the game. I just prefer it if more strategy is like emphasized, right? I prefer it if that way, instead of maybe punishing the player when they haven't put in, if they've just been following the main story's trajectory and not doing the side quests. Like, it makes sense if they're maybe a little under leveled to fight a boss, but I would I would like it when the boss is maybe a little difficult, right? Like, it makes sense. But I also don't like it when they're much more difficult, especially if like the level difference is not that much. So there's a very strong emphasis in strategy, which I'm a big fan of. I think that's really cool. I really enjoyed that. With a lot of traditional JRPGs, specifically games like Dragon Quest, they're great. I love Dragon Quest 11. I think it's become one of my favorite games. And that was one of my favorite games last year that I played. But it is really simple. It is a very simple game, and there's really not a ton of strategy that goes into it. You can, the spells are pretty straightforward. There's not really there aren't spells that are like, I mean, there are, but I just feel like they're not really, they're underutilized, and they're not really that useful in situations like towards like the end of the game. Toward the end of the game, you're just kind of for like Eric especially, like you have like a pretty set strategy, which is fun. It's a lot of fun to play as him, or have him in the party and stuff. But there's not a ton that really goes into it. Once you get into once you get sort of into, I would say maybe post game, or once you cap off at level 99, that's when you get into these battles that are very difficult and actually kind of force you to pick a strategy. Like, that's fun. I haven't done very well at those, but that's like, okay, this is cool. Like, this actually, you have to actually think about the actions that you take each turn and everything like that, and you have these restrictions and limitations on the number of party members in your party. So that makes the battles more difficult. And I think that's kind of what I've liked so far with SMT5. Again, it's not an overly complex battle system. It's pretty standard, right? Turn based, but I just like that there's a lot more layers to it than something like maybe Dragon Quest or Final Fantasy, right? So that's kind of what I've enjoyed about these games. Is the battle system is fantastic. I really like I've really liked the demon summoning system. That's pretty much that's carried over from the last games. That's always been a pretty fun part of the series. And yeah, I've just really enjoyed it so far. It's been a lot of fun. The only another criticism I do have is that it doesn't really add too much difficulty. I just dislike the fact that I can't save outside of ley line points. So ley line founts. Ley line founts are these sort of essentially save points where you kind of you're able to buy items, and you're also able to go into the I'm just gonna call it like the demon summoning program. That's just kind of what I remember from 4. I don't know exactly remember what it's called. World of Shadows is what it's called in this game, where he can change demons and your players' affinities and skills, and then also combine demons to create new, stronger demons, right? But it's a little frustrating when I do die, because you die pretty frequently, or I do at least. Just playing through normal mode, I think it can be pretty difficult sometimes, especially if you go into a new area like I recently have and get my ass kicked. You end up going all the way back to this save point, and that's kind of frustrating at times. So I wish there was maybe a little bit more leniency, but it's a small complaint. It can be kind of frustrating at times, especially if you've made like a decent amount of progress and you just fucking die. This was in just this encounter, you didn't see an enemy and they just kind of sneak up on you. But other than that, the game's been great. Been really enjoying it. Anyways, let's talk basketball, like I previewed it at the beginning. When was the last time I recorded? Let me check. I can't check. I have to pause. And if I pause, it might fuck up my audio, so I can't really. Shit. Anyways, the last time I recorded, I believe was after Christmas, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it was about a week or so of basketball. Some exciting things have happened. Let's talk about DeRozan's back-to-back game winners. Crazy shit, man. I wish I saw that live. Oh my god, dude. The first one was that was obviously for one, that was like a terrible shot. That was just he was just chucking it. They were calling it New Year's Heave, which is pretty funny. Like he didn't even need a 3. Like he was beyond the arc. Like he just one-legged 3-pointer. It was ridiculous. But a crazy shot. And then the night afterwards, he hits this even more like difficult, because it was like a heavily contested corner 3. That was like some Kobe shit, man. Just like the way he shot it and everything. It was very Kobe-esque. But goddamn, dude, that's never happened before. I mean, yeah, I think it's, I've heard people brought it up that Larry Bird hit back-to-back, or he hit game winners in subsequent games, which I think it's pretty much the same thing. I think it's just the fact that it's it's on 2 nights in a row is crazy. That's crazy. And he upped the difficulty too. This has been the most. This has been like I talked about this before, but this is like the best that I've seen DeRozan play. Like he had some pretty great years in Toronto, but this is just like on a whole nother level. Like he just has this like veteran level of confidence. I think that he's just kind of gone through his sort of trials and tribulations. He just getting knocked out just constantly in the Eastern Conference by LeBron year after year, and then right seeing getting traded, going to the Spurs, having not necessarily team success there, but individual success. I didn't, to be honest, I didn't really watch him play on the Spurs, but I just heard good things that he was, he became a better playmaker, him just distributing the ball and everything like that. So I think I've watched like a good amount of Bulls games because they're a good team. They're a lot of fun. I mean, they're number one in the conference right now. I don't know if that's gonna stay, but I think they're just a really exciting team. Outside of my Warriors, of course, I think they're the most enjoyable team to watch. So I've been kind of keeping up with them, and I think just seeing it's just so like evident every game that I've watched that DeMar's played that he just takes over the fourth quarter. Like I haven't really seen. I don't know. I think outside of like Curry going fucking nuts in like the third quarter, like the fourth quarter is like DeRozan's like fucking. It's his. Like he owns that shit. Like it's crazy. Like I haven't really seen a player have that much kind of influence or that much just kind of gravity in in that period of time, like as of late, you know what I mean? Very much embracing like a Kobe role. I mean, he obviously modeled his game after him, so that's not really that surprising, but still it's really cool to see, and I'm happy that he's experiencing success in Chicago so far, and the Bulls are experiencing success. I think shout out to Zach LaVine as well. He's had some ups, and he's had a lot of downs with the Bulls in the last couple of years, and I think this is the first time he's really been on a winning team. So I think that's great. I'm really happy for him because he's also a great player, and it's been he's an incredible player. He's very fun to watch as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see where this Bulls team goes. How they will fare against like the likes of the Nets and the Bucks, I don't know yet. I know that the Bulls have beaten the Nets in both of the games they've played against them, but playoffs are a different creature, man, and they haven't played against the Bucks yet, so we'll see how they handle Giannis. I think that's just like the biggest that's like the biggest thing that's kind of going to be in their way, but playoffs are still a bit of a ways. So it's not really worth too much speculating about, but Bulls have been a lot of fun, man. Warriors beat the Jazz a couple of nights ago. I watched sort of the tail end of the game. I was able to catch it. And they look great, man. They've beaten the Suns, and then they beat the Jazz. So really, if they could just like not lose to like the Grizzlies, I think they'll be good. Like that's just like that's like the only team that's been a problem for them so far, right? Because they've beaten the top of the East so far, right? Again, they've beaten the Bulls at home. Oh, I guess they haven't played the Bucks yet, so that's something. I don't know how. Again, I don't know how they're gonna handle Giannis, but that's gonna be a bit of a challenge. But every other team so far that's sort of top of their respective conferences, they've been really good against. So I have really good hopes. And Clay's coming back. Oh my god, dude, it's been so fucking long. It's been 2 years. It's been more than 2 years since he's played on an NBA court. I'm so fucking excited, man. It's gonna be so good. I have to watch that game. Like that's just not it's just out of question. Um, yeah, I'm really excited. He's looked really good, just based on the footage we've seen him of him scrimmaging, of him in practice. Yeah, it's looking good, man. It's looking really good for us right now. So I'm excited to see the Clay come back. I'm excited to. Oh man, crowd's gonna be crazy. Yeah, I'm just I'm just imagining it right now. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. Honestly, not a whole lot else to really discuss. I know. Um, what do I know? I don't know shit. I don't know where I was going with that. That's gotta do it. That's gotta do it for this episode. It's an abrupt ending. This has been Save the Semantics. Signing off.